What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Brock.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brock, and once again, we're joined by Jeff Manning, whoever that is. And
How's it
today is
going?
a hey, how's it
Hey,
going, Jeff? Today is a very special episode of the program. It is episode number 100. Woo!
Unbelievable.
They said it couldn't be done.
but here you are.
Here we are.
We have one of the longest running shows about the GWF, right behind the Legends guys
Yeah.
and solo promoter.
Yep. Good stuff. So we're gonna commemorate our 100th episode with a special Q&A edition. We've had some of our fans, I guess we'll call them fans, community members, friends, give us some questions of some things that they'd like us to talk about. So Mike has compiled the list, so we'll kick it over to him.
Yeah, well, we'll start off with Paul Barnes, the man who did our artwork for our creeper, power creeper. He sent in 3 for us. And they're all GWF related.
Cool.
And he said, "What is the longest amount of time you've spent between playing?"
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'll answer that one. From outside of Galacticon, I went from 2012 to 2015 not playing at all at home. So 3 years.
Pretty big gap.
Yeah.
For me, my longest is probably about 10 months. And then I do like 1 card, and then I could be off for another few months. Just depends, because I had a busy life also with work, and I coached 3 sports. What about you, Jeff?
I was not aware there would be math tonight. I think I'm trying to remember. There was a gap there probably between, going to college and hanging out and then having kids and whatnot. I think there was a gap of 3 or 4 years from I want to say 2002 to 2005. But yeah, I'd say it was probably about 3 years, probably about like Brock's. I had a bit where I was going out and hanging out with people and doing stuff like that. And then until I settled down, it was like, okay, now I got time to play this game while I'm at home. I did
Yeah.
have a roommate in college initially that played with me, actually. He was huge into wrestling, and we would play like once a week on Friday nights or something before we would go out for the night. And but then, yeah, there was a gap after that.
It really helps to have someone to play with.
It does.
In all honesty, that's the main reason I started streaming it on Twitch Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is to make sure I continue to play.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Because I am notorious, especially my bootleg fed, for starting it up, playing for a few months, and then just stopping dead. And then it's like, I don't remember what's going on, so I just
It's hard.
restarted again.
That's the hardest part, is getting back into the storylines. I've always loved it, and I've always had it. I tell you, when I first had kids and I started playing again, what really kept me into it, number one, was the promoter on the desktop, when I could input my cards because I had the physical cards, but to put them on my computer and be able to play, so I didn't have to get everything out.
Yeah.
That combined with going to my first Galacticon
Mhm.
were the two big, that kept me, okay, I'm going to keep playing this.
Yeah.
Okay. And Paul's next question almost is a lead in from this one. When you left off, how did you start playing? Did you remember where you left off?
No.
And did you do a reboot because of it?
I've rebooted very often. I've never rebooted my GWF, which is probably the one I've needed to reboot the most. Because as we've talked about several times on here, I've kind of rushed through it, and I feel like I've missed a lot
You
of
did.
story and character development and all that stuff, and just a lot of fun just trying to get caught up. And I kind of regret that to this day. And I really think that if I were to pick it back up now, I'd be better off probably just rebooting altogether.
Yeah, I've done 2 reboots technically. When I first started playing the game, it was mid 90s. It was during the ECW uh explosion, and I named I don't know if you guys remember, I'm sure you do because you guys have been loyal forever. The when they used to post your website on the official GWF page
Hmm.
under Feds, and I had the Extreme Galactic Wrestling Federation, I believe is what it was called. And I basically had no rules, anybody could face anybody, no DQs, no countouts. So that was my original Fed with the original set, and then I went back and I started playing it for real a couple years later, and I rebooted then, and I really enjoyed it. And I kept everything in a notebook and everything. And then when I came back the next time, I had bought all the early classic stuff and everything, so that I decided I was going to start in 2074 and have a complete Fed, and I replayed back through to where I am now. So I've done 2 reboots technically from the first time I bought the game.
Yeah, I've done a total of two reboots. So I'm on my third. The first time I did it, I shared a Fed with a friend, Rob Nadon, and so we shared our Fed, and we'd wrestle 2-3 cards a day, easy. And then Galacticon came, and we got the old Galacticon deals, which were Tom gave some pretty infamous bargains for those who showed up.
Hmm.
And so I bought all the cards and started a reboot. And I started the Fed, but I started with like the first 4 sets. And then I didn't like it because Bounty Hunter won my heavyweight championship right off the bat. Count Necros won my Intergalaxian. And I was like, what happened to all the old guys? So I ran
Yeah.
that for like 2 months, and I'm like, I wasn't liking it because
Hmm.
like Star Warrior and Thanos weren't even getting ranked, and I was having. So I'm like, no, I'm going to restart it, and that's the one I'm currently on. But I'm always able to remember where I am because I leave little notes in my book,
Nice.
And you always have your note cards.
and I do. I have my cards, and
Yeah, I've started
I have
saving
another book
files.
which lists all my champions. Oh yeah, yeah, this guy's champion, and plus my notebook also lists all my champions and
I have
feud.
all my old notebooks, and over the last few years, I've always posted on the Fed forum, which really helps me. And I also have an Excel spreadsheet for like all my championships and awards and stuff like that.
Hmm. Definitely helps with the modern era of technology. Definitely helps with record keeping. But here's my here's how I keep record of my current Fed.
And
This
then
giant
Paul,
5 subject notebook. So
and
it's
then
very hard to go back and find things, but it's there.
Paul's last question: before wrestlers were colorized, did you have any? I like. He wants to know if any now that they've been colorized, were any are a different color,
Mm,
and or did we envision them differently?
definitely.
Hmm. For sure.
My most glaring one I think was Mutant. I always envisioned him as brown, and he's kind of like a greenish color.
Green.
Yeah, he was green for me from the get go.
See, I always thought he was like a brownish kind of like almost like it was fur on him and stuff.
Yeah. I saw him as yellow. Like a yellow, like a jaundice almost kind of
And
like,
that's how I had the creeper. I think that's why the creeper
yeah,
said color because that's what I told Paul. Hey, he's jaundiced looking.
I
yeah.
thought Creeper was like a tan, like not as brown. Like I thought Mutant had more fur, and I thought
Hmm.
Creeper was more like a claymation. You remember Clayface and like
Yeah.
Batman? That's how I viewed Creeper.
That's funny.
My
Mike
my
and I talked
biggest
about it before on the show, how like everyone throughout the galaxy is just Caucasian. Like, why can't Thanos be just like gray skinned or
well,
purple
that
skinned or?
for me,
There's
Thanos was gray skinned.
Hmm.
I
Makes
just had
sense.
him. Yeah, I just had. Why not?
well, I
They're all
always saw him as
aliens.
like a two-face kind of person. Like it was different tones as he worked through his face because of the mutilation he had done to him.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's a lot of different. I think another glaring color was the Aetherins, the face paint.
Yeah,
I thought it would be different colored. I just,
black and red.
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I had the face paint all different colors. It was like the Road Warriors. They all had their own
Yeah.
color scheme, and they changed it up.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's definitely some variances that I just didn't see coming.
It's funny though, because since they've been doing the color cards, most aliens are just green. I
You
think
got
Epoch
you,
is purple, I think.
what about your Thrax and Zygon?
They're gray.
They're gray.
So we got gray, green, and there's a couple red guys, I think.
Well, yeah, you got like Paganix.
But beyond that, it's just like standard, like Caucasian, African American, like that's
You're
it.
saying we need more shades, is what
We
you're
need
saying.
more diversity within the GWF.
And
Amongst
let's
the
switch
aliens.
Well, thank you, Paul, for the questions.
Yeah, those are good ones.
thanks, Mr. Paul Barnes. We can switch over to Todd Jorshell.
Okay.
Yeah, he asked us, "Hey guys," and he congratulates us on our reaching 100 episodes.
Thanks, Todd.
And he said, "What's a regional food chain that you really enjoy, and what's it known for, and what's your usual order?" I'll start.
I got one in mind. I just got to remember what all the ingredients are.
So for me, if you're ever up in Canada, Harvey's, it's a burger chain,
Okay.
and the burgers are, half inch. They're thick. It's a patty. It's not like and you can literally get whatever you want on it. So I usually get a double burger combo. So it's two slices of cheese, and then whatever I get on it. So I get lettuce, tomato, double pickle, and I'll throw some jalapenos on there, and then I'll mix it up. Sometimes it's ketchup and mustard. Other times I'll put a barbecue sauce and mayo. But that's usually my burger order. And the burger's like
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
switch it down to the hunch. And that's just, you know, I could go to McDonald's or I can go to that place. The McDonald's, oh, there's my burger. Oh,
Yeah.
there's
I
my
mean,
burger.
I'm in a tiny little town. There's about 8,000 people in this town. We have most of the chain restaurants. I think the local diner that gets the most play is a place called Eaton Place. It's a little diner, little mom and pop shop diner looking place. Only does breakfast and lunch. Closes at 2 o'clock every day. It's like 6 a.m. to like 2 p.m. But they have a plate that's called the Sunrise Special, and it is basically it's a cheese omelet covered with hash browns and homemade country sausage gravy, all like
Ooh,
together in like a little gravy boat looking thing. You know,
I'm,
it's
I'm down for that.
it's delicious. I'd say that's our local eatery that probably gets the most play around here. It's been on the news, just in Dayton and stuff, like mentioning to come over here and check it out.
I love breakfast food.
Oh, it's delicious. It's the perfect little mom and pop shop with the old 80s wooden wall, or the wooden walls you had in the houses in the 80s, like
Hmm.
that standard plank on the wall. It's like that. I mean, it's
Nice.
fantastic.
Yeah, we go to a place every Saturday morning for breakfast called Wimpy's, and it's like a 50s diner. We get Joanne, the waitress. We know her. She knows us. Talk about our kids. We know when she's going on vacation. When she goes on vacation, we don't go because I don't like the other waitresses. And
Hey.
It just makes me think of Popeye. Do you have a tab there where you can pay for a cheeseburger tomorrow if they feed you today?
no.
Oh, wimpy.
I would say if the other place in town that is a local eatery is a place called Adam's Rib, which is a barbecue place that's delicious. They have pulled pork barbecue nachos. They have something called Piggy Mac that's pulled pork barbecue with mac and cheese mixed in together. Like, it's delicious as well. Also a tiny little place.
What about you, Brock?
Well, probably the most popular. It's not really regional anymore. It's Permane Brothers, the Pittsburgh style sandwich, which is you got your meat, which you can get any kind of meat. You can get burger patties, whatever, and then it's a layer of coleslaw, and then a layer of French fries on top of that.
I had it when we were in Pittsburgh. All three of
I've
us went to that restaurant.
I've had it a couple times in Pittsburgh. I actually like the original place, the first one that has the artwork and all that, the
Hmm.
mural and all that of all the Pittsburgh locals. It has Bruno Sammartino on there.
It does. It does. That's a good one. My order there is the jumbo bologna, but I double the meat and add an egg. But locally here in New Brighton is a place called Jerry's Curb Service, where it's like an old school diner where you pull up in your car and you don't get out. You just order from the car, and then they bring your food out to the car and everything. And their signature burger there is called the Dorsey, and it's just like two burger patties that kind of overlap on like a 6-inch bun, and it has your standard burger toppings on it. It's pretty good. That's my go-to there.
Okay.
But yeah, Permanis is my jam. I eat that place way too much. They just celebrated their 80th anniversary, I think it was. So it was might have been 90th anniversary, I think. So everything you could get 4 sandwiches for $19.23 or something like that. So we ate there like 4 consecutive days. Ended up throwing so much away because they're huge. But yeah, check it out if you're ever in the area. But they're spreading pretty far west. They probably have Permanis out by you, Jeff, don't they?
I don't think out this far. I think
Okay.
they have one in Columbus,
All right.
but I don't think it reaches all the way over here, like Dayton area.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. Yeah. We don't want you invading our area. Keep your stuff in Pittsburgh.
Your French fries on your sandwich.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, a place I visited when I was there was the Pamela's Diner. Have you ever been there?
No.
It was on diners, drive-ins, and dives, and
Okay.
I saw that Michelle Obama had been there and stuff like that.
Never been there.
It's a nice little diner. It's like an old school half diner, half like pharmacist, like drugstore type thing. It's awesome though. You ought to check it out. I mean, it's probably not too
Yeah, I'll
far
check it
from
out.
you.
Yeah. I always like to eat.
It's not in
Thanks,
downtown. It's like 5-10 minutes away.
That's all right. Even
thanks,
better.
thanks, Mr. Todd Jorshell.
Yeah,
For
that's a
your,
good one. I always love talking about food.
oh
The
yeah.
This could be a whole episode.
the question master.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, we'll move on to Derek Bauman, one of the Twitch guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
He sent four
He was
questions.
on here last week.
Yep.
4 questions.
He sent 4 questions, and the first question, he goes, "What's your favorite GWF era?"
The original game edition through like 92, I'd say. If that's an era. First 5
I
years.
think it is that because that's the they call it something online. It's the golden era or something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember what it is, but they have a specific era, and I think it goes from 2087 to like 2093, 2094, something like that, 2093 maybe.
I'll take that one. I'm sure it's
Yeah,
gonna be popular.
that'd be mine. It's got all the guys you start the game off with, and the guys who are around for 20 years.
Hmm.
Thanos, Star Warrior, Spike, Massive, Nexus, all those guys. That's my guys. Plus the Chuck Carter art.
Yeah, I think when Matador arose, like that was that when you had like you got the heroes, you got the villains, and you got Matador comes in first, checking out the scene, and then Chaos comes in. That right there solidified it for me because now you got 3 layers to it
Hmm.
when it started getting interesting. I really am a big fan of the early classics as well. I don't want to just jump in, but when they added the Molesky early classics with the already released GWF stuff, having that and having Omega, so I could actually see him in his prime,
Hmm.
getting into where he was still important in 2087, I think was a good era for me. I just really enjoyed playing it.
Good stuff.
It's hard to beat the classics. I mean, we're all nostalgic. That's why we're here.
It is. It really is. And then like Mike said, we played with those characters for 20 plus years. They're still hanging around, a lot of them. So
Die, wolf, die.
in dog years, that guy's got to be 700.
Okay, Derek's second question: Who is the most famous person you have met?
Oof.
Now we
Gosh.
could break it down into actor, wrestler, other athletes,
Hmm.
musicians.
I mean, I do autograph signings all the time.
Yeah,
How do you determine who's the most famous out of the ones
Yeah.
I've met?
I haven't met a lot of famous people.
I mean, I'm trying to think of most famous. I mean, wrestler wise, I've met Bret Hart, I've met Sting. Uh, those are probably the
I
two
met Ric
more.
Flair.
Yeah, so I mean that's great. Um, gosh.
That's probably my most famous person all around.
Baseball most famous is probably Pete Rose. Um, I'm trying to think. Like I've met so many. Actor wise, I'd probably say I don't know Sean Astin. He's pretty notable because of
Yeah.
Goonies and Lord of the Rings and whatnot.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, Stranger Things. Bob. Yeah, I've met so many people over the years going to the autograph signs and stuff. I'd say those are the more notable ones where people you could say their names and they'd probably know them. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I see. I've met guys, but it's just through either wrestling. So you're doing after parties. Like I said, I hung out with Tom Savini one night for like 2 hours, and
I've met Tom Savini. He's
we
a
just sat
local.
at a meat and cheese tray and just pulled up a chair to the whole table,
Charcuterie.
giant charcuterie board. Uh, and it was funny. Another time, me and my wife were in Vegas, and she's looking at this. They had a giant fish tank that's like 100 feet long and like 8 feet high, and there's all kinds of stuff. And she's going around, and she looks over, and she just sees me talking to some guy. And then after he goes, I'm talking to him for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and he was just, he had come up to me, and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "That was Joey Fatone."
We call him Joey Fat One.
Yep.
He's like, "Why is he talking to you?" And I'm like, "He came up and asked me for the time because his phone had died." And I said he was, he needed to know the time because I guess they were filming Price is Right because he was doing the come on down. He was doing that part for him.
Nice.
And I said he just, oh, I got like 20 minutes. He goes, "What are you doing?" And oh, I'm here in Vegas, and we just, shot the shit for like 10 minutes with Joey Fatone. But I bounced in a lot of bars, so I got to meet, some acts,
Hmm.
like Finger 11 and more or less, big Canadian acts that you guys probably have never heard of.
Nickelback.
No, I never got to meet Nickelback.
Oh,
Celine Dion.
I did meet Flow Rider at a
Well, there you
radio
go.
station. That for music wise.
I did have dinner with not who's Shirley from Laverne and Shirley, not Penny Marshall, the other one.
I don't remember her name.
But her,
It's a shame none of us met Lucille Ball. I mean, we've been to
I know,
Jamestown
right?
how many times with the I Love Lucy Museum.
and
My
then
shot. Oh,
I
good.
met Dean Stockwell. I ran him over, flattened him, had to help him up because he was doing one of these things where he was wandering through a Comic Con, but he was in disguise. And I didn't know it. We saw an opening, there's so many people, and there's like a stream of people this way, stream of people that way. And there's just a small gap where we could race through to the other side. And I saw it the same time he saw it. And my, you know, 6'6", 300-pound body ran into oh
Oh, gotta have a sip of water.
yeah,
Uh-oh.
an old guy, and I flattened him. His costume goes flying. And then I did security for what's her name from the X-Files?
Oh yeah, Scully or
The girl,
Gillian
yeah,
Anderson.
Gillian Anderson. That's her.
Gillian Anderson. She's tiny. She had to get from one side to the other and she's like, "You're gonna be my security?" She's like, "How are we gonna do this?" I'm like, literally just stand a foot behind me and hold on to my shirt. Said, "I'll get you there. No one will see you." And we literally all the way across the convention center. Nobody noticed her. Stay close.
So my Sean Astin experience, I should probably tell you the story. It's partially GWF related. Uh, so the Motor City Comic Con, that's where I met Sean Astin at. And the only reason I knew that Comic Con even existed was because it was where I first met Rob Bobine and played the game. I went there the year they had Virgil, Nikolai Volkov, and Iron Sheik. That was my first experience playing with somebody from the the boards and the forum and stuff like that than as opposed to just somebody I knew.
I
Mhm.
And
was at that con in November.
yeah,
Yeah, I was there.
and so I went back to Motor City Comic Con to meet Sean Astin amongst others. Sting was there, Vader was there, Dennis Rodman. I'm trying to think of everybody I met, but the Sean Astin line was insane. It was like 3 hours long, and I had a Rudy card, a custom made Rudy card that's by this artist named Kyler Smith. He sells movie character baseball cards. Fantastic artwork, by the way. But I had his card, and I was like, man, I really wanted to get Sean Astin on this Rudy card. And I had been pushing my daughter in a stroller all day. Like, I had 4 kids with me. And I go up and I'm like, hey, how long's the line for Sean Astin? His line was crazy because of Lord of the Rings. It was like 3+ hours. And they're like, but you can't come in here with that stroller. And I'd been going down lines all day in that stroller. And they were like, well, I'll tell you what, since you got the stroller, you can come over to the VIP and you can get in line. So like they would go one regular person, one VIP, so I was like fifth in line.
Nice.
So I got to meet Sean Astin. I got so excited I got in there quick and got his autograph. I forgot to take a picture of him signing it. I literally took a picture as we were walking away of him talking to the next person. Because I was like, because he was so friendly and cordial. Like his line, partially, I mean, yeah, he was super popular, but it was so long because he talked to everybody.
Yeah,
Like he would talk about your item and why you brought it and why it was interesting and this and that. So he was a very
that's cool.
sociable guy.
At some of the Comic Cons I met, I remember I met Larry Niven, science fiction writer. And he comes up, and I guess he doesn't like to sign his picture. He'll only sign his books, front cover on the inside. So I guess everybody knows it's him. And I didn't know this about him. And I literally made him. I was getting mad because he wouldn't sign it. And I'm losing my temper with him. And his wife's like, just sign it. They're looking for security. There's no security. So he signed his name on the back on his photo. Like, I didn't know.
What a
And then there was
bully.
another one, Hank Blaylock. Brock might know him. He did G.I. Joe comics.
Josh
Yeah.
Blaylock.
Josh Blaylock.
Blaylock.
And so the lineup is huge. It's like, probably an hour long. And I see it. There's like 300 people. I'm like, well, I got time to kill. I'm there at the con for 3 days. So I hop in the line, and there's 2 little kids about 10 years old. And they're like, you tell them, you tell them. And none of them would talk to me because I had long hair, goatee. And all of a sudden, a person comes up and goes, okay, Hank's here. You can sign. I walked to the front of the line. I didn't know it was the front. I thought it was the back. And I was the first person in line. Oh, there you go. You can sign. So I just signed and walked away. I'm like, oh,
I've met him a few times. I actually have original artwork from him that we had a signing with him at our comic book store. Nobody showed up.
Oh.
So just me and him for 3 hours talking. It was a bad look.
Yeah.
But he was just bored, so he was drawing on like those blank covers that Marvel would do. He was just drawing stuff on those. Like, do you want me to pay you for these? Like, no. He's like, I'm bored. I'm like, sorry, dude.
Nobody likes us.
Let's switch to Derek's third one. And he goes,
this device has only one registered account.
What?
That was
Alexa, order Mike a pizza.
Who is the most well-known wrestler you have ever wrestled or for you guys met?
Ric Flair.
I mean, yeah, I think I'd have to go Bret Hart. I mean,
I met Bret Hart as well.
Yeah, I've met Flair a couple times. I've met Bret, but for being in the ring with, geez, that's a tough one. I'd almost have to say Tito. Like, I've been in the ring with Tito. I've also been in the ring with Rhino when, for the ECW world title, but I think Tito Santana is more famous than Rhino.
Yeah, I think so. He was around for the Rock and Wrestling and WrestleMania 1.
But Rhino came in at the end of the Attitude Era, too, when 8 million people were watching every week.
It could be a toss-up.
Either one of those guys.
He was the last ever ECW champion, the real ECW.
Right.
And he's held belts in all the major feds.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah. He's still working it.
Yeah, he's been... The only world belt he didn't win, I think, was the WWF world belt. Because he won TNAs, Ring of Honors.
He's such a nice guy. Tito's a dick, but Rhino's such a nice guy.
I've heard that about Tito.
But the cool thing is everybody talks about Virgil, the loneliest wrestler. but I met him in Detroit, and then a few months later, I show up at Galacticon, and he's at the Galacticon, and I walk to the back porch, and he's talking to Brock and Sam. And I walk through the door, and he looks up and he goes, "Hey, Mike Fortune, how's it going?" Like, wow, like I was impressed that I met this guy 3 months ago, and he still remembered me.
Virgil gets a bad rap. He's a local too. Like
Yeah.
I have chance encounters with Virgil all the time. Not so much since he's gotten sick, but like I'd say 10 years ago, it was a common thing to run into Virgil at like Giant Eagle or Walmart or something like that. And he was always hustling people. And
Yeah,
I talked to him once about it. He's like, he said, I'm never hurting for money. He's just like, in his mind, he felt like his autograph or a picture of him with him would be worth money. So
Yeah.
he felt like he should be paid for that.
And I think I've told my Virgil story before. He has a special place in my fandom because I remember going to a Saturday night main event. You remember back when those were big and they took over the spot of Saturday Night Live once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a good guy. He'd already turned face. He was facing Ted DiBiase in one of the mini matches they had. And I was standing on the rail and he gave me a high five. So he was like the first professional ever wrestler that actually acknowledged I existed. And then I went to the Motor City Comic Con years later and he was the first one I met. Like I was like, I got to get a picture with Virgil. Like
Yeah,
he's a childhood hero because he gave me a high five going down the aisle.
he's a nice guy.
And Derek's last question: besides Filsinger card games, what other hobbies do you have?
Way too many.
Yeah, collecting sports memorabilia, as you'll see probably in a little bit, especially cards specifically, but other things too.
For me, it's Lego mainly.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's mine
collected
too.
comics. I collected comics for 40 plus years, and I've stopped in the last probably 10. I just grab graphic novels now. I don't really collect. I picked up Dead Romans, which is a small series, historical series, but it's Lego. I just got into it. My wife
Yeah.
got me into it. She didn't realize how addictive it could be.
Lego is my kryptonite. I've pretty much given up on all my other fandoms. Like I still run Pokemon tournaments at our comic book store because I'm a Pokemon professor.
Nice.
I gave up on HeroClix comics.
HeroClix always interests me.
It's fun. But it's just too expensive. And there it's hard to store. Like once you get so many, like where do you keep them? So, but it's definitely Lego for me. It's the one I've held on to.
Yeah, it's 100% sports cards for me predominantly. So,
But okay, thank you, Derek,
Thank
for
you,
those
Derek.
questions. We do have one question from Neil Lau.
Yes.
What year did the show start?
2021.
Yeah, since we're almost at the year 2 marker and 104 shows will be year 2. So we can just subtract it.
better
20
Brock and Mike trivia is when's the first episode Jeff Manning came on? That
Oh,
should
there
be
you
the
go. That's
trivia
it.
right there.
Our first ever guest was Pete Beck,
It was.
who will be coming up very soon for questions. And yeah, Neil, here I'll add on to Neil's question. We started the show because on the GWF on the Filsinger promoters page, every Monday I would do a spotlight, and I would just write it in, and a lot of people were actually writing, like Massive did this my Fed, and so many people were writing in.
Mhm.
It was actually kind of neat. And I just made mention to Brock one time. I'm like, hey, you got a channel that you never use.
That is true.
I said, let's see if we can get that up. And yeah, we went from 23 subscribers to like 135 now.
Yeah, we picked up a lot in the past week, honestly.
Yeah.
Almost viral.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I actually had 2 people reach out to me who said that they were fans of the game before, and they found our show
Nice.
and kind of reignited their interest. They were just looking for Champions of the Galaxy stuff on YouTube, and there's not a lot there. And they found this, and so pretty cool.
We're here for you.
That's right.
Okay.
Don't know what happened there. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but I got kicked off my computer.
But yeah, and for and it even said, if you do console games, I do play a lot of Gears of War. I'm a big Gears of War fan. Red Dead Redemption 2 and Iron Brigade. It's a weird old game, but I still play it. And if anyone wants to know if we played any arcade games, and since I'm probably the oldest guy who went to an arcade on a regular basis,
I went to an arcade quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
Come on,
okay.
man.
I was a big fan of Centipede. I just like that little roller ball. And Golden Axe
Oh yeah, I loved me some Golden Axe. I had that on Sega too.
and 1941. I would
Yep,
play that a
the
lot.
airplane.
Yep.
My favorite arcade game was the Simpsons arcade game.
I loved that game as well. It's on my top 5 easily.
It's awesome.
I loved the
Never,
mini games after you beat a level and you had to blow up the like crusty head.
Mm-hmm. Why did that game never get remade anywhere?
I don't know. Probably
Must be
get
a
it on an
licensing
emulator.
issue. Yeah.
Are you gonna answer all the questions right now, Brock? He had
I didn't even hear the
multiples.
questions.
Oh wow.
what are your
I was
favorite?
complete, my computer was gone. It was completely
Oh,
shut off. I don't know what
yeah.
happened.
Pete wanted to know what your favorite games are.
Okay.
And then what favorite video games do you play, console or arcade?
Uh all-time favorite games are probably Mario, all of them.
Except for
And
2. Come on, man.
yeah, two
2 was
wasn't a Mario game. It was just something else that they reskinned into a Mario game.
It
It was
was a
some
Mario.
farming game, I think is
Super
what it was.
Mario 2. Let's throw this radish at people. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to
It's
interrupt.
okay. I was a big fighting game fan. Street Fighter was something I played a lot.
Street
Street
Fighter the
Fighter 2.
original or Street Fighter 2?
Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter. I don't think I ever played the first
Yeah, I
Street
don't think
Fighter. I owned
think
it.
nobody ever
I
played Street Fighter. It was Street Fighter 2 every
I
time.
bought it by mistake actually for my DOS computer. I was like, "Oh, Street Fighter" on a floppy disk, and it's just like Ken and Ryu, and that's it.
Now, I did used to play a lot of Age of Empires online, and this is back when nobody had headsets or cameras, so you'd have to go into certain rooms and just play people.
Hmm.
And there was an incredibly toxic community, so no one would help you out. You're like, "Hey, can I get some help?" And they're just like, "Screw you," and then they crush you. And or you'd go on a 3 versus 3, and you'd ask for help, and they're like, "Screw you, noob." But I'm on your team. If I'm getting killed quickly, then it's 3-on-2.
Yeah.
And so I remember I quit my profile and then signed it up again, but I called myself Misbehaving. And so all the guys thought I was a girl, and now they're all over me. They're like, "Hey, come join my clan. I'll help you out." And I got really good at the game because everybody's giving me tips.
Nice.
So you catfished.
He did.
Yeah, before catfishing was catfishing.
Okay, so let's see here. First question was, do I play any current games? Is that right?
Yeah,
Currently, I don't really play video games.
Me neither. They've passed me by.
Yeah,
I still play Pokemon.
I have the WWE 2K22 or whatever for PlayStation 5. Literally never opened it, but I plan on playing it soon. I've been saying that for a while. I do Sporkle, which is quizzes every day on my phone, just to keep my mind fresh. I like doing random quizzes. Outside of that, I still do some Imaginary Wrestling Association, which is a strategy-based game, loosely with wrestling around it. But it's a money pit. Huh?
I used to play that when it was play by mail.
Yeah, it still is kind of, but you can do it online. But they still have the play-by-mail option. Video game wise, my first favorite game ever was we had an Intellivision 2 growing up originally, and I loved Burger Time. Was my favorite game back then. Later on, I really loved, once I got to the N64, I had other machines in between there, the NES, the Sega Genesis, stuff like that. I really liked WCW, NWO, especially when they came out with Revenge. I really loved GoldenEye with my friends. Then in the Xbox era and PlayStation and stuff like that, I kind of got into Call of Duty for a little while, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, stuff like that. But it's probably been a good, I don't know, 12 years since I played a game semi-frequently. Arcade wise, the Simpsons game was up there. I loved that. NBA Jam. We used to get dropped off at this local restaurant that had an NBA Jam in the front of it, and we'd play it all the time. Yeah, the older games. The you mentioned the Centipede with the roller ball. There was a bowling game too that had the roller ball that I used to love.
My
Um,
dentist office had that.
yeah.
I have gotten back into Magic. I was a beta tester for Magic years and years ago when it first came out. So
I
I have
played
the
it.
stuff.
I played it when it first came out, and I sold it all in like 1999. I sold everything I had for a couple $100, and that was an idiotic decision looking back. But at the time, a couple $100 was a lot to me.
Yeah.
Here's something that happened. So I owned an Alpha Black Lotus, and I had a guy I knew knock on my door, and he's like, "Hey, can I buy your Alpha Black Lotus?" Now it was guiding for about $600 at the time. I'm like, "No, I don't want to sell it." And so he keeps upping the price, and it gets about $800. Suddenly, my wife just appears out of nowhere. She's like, "You're selling the card." That's rent.
Oh,
That's rent and groceries for a month.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So she made me sell the card. And then I go to another store just a couple of years ago, and I'm like, "Hey, how much is an Alpha Black Lotus?" And they're like, 100 grand.
yeah.
Damn it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But let's move on to Pete Beck's last question. And what are your favorite sports memorabilia items that you own?
I brought
Mark, we'll
several
start with you.
examples. I'll let you guys go first.
So, since Jeff has a treasure trove,
I don't have
Yeah.
much. I have 2 signed baseballs, one from Jason Bay and one from Freddie Sanchez, and they're right there.
Interesting choices.
Jason Bay, the greatest Canadian baseball player of all time.
He is not. You shut your mouth. You have a Joey Votto fan on this call. And he's not even up there with Larry Walker. Come on. They do have their own baseball award for Canadians. It's called the Tip O'Neill Award.
Oh
we
yeah.
For
have
the
our own,
best
we have
Canadian
our own
baseball
Hall of
player each year.
Fame.
Yeah, that's not a thing. We don't talk about that.
We have a Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Because today's the day that Joe Carter hit the home run that won the World Series.
Yeah, I
Today's the
saw that
anniversary.
on the memories.
Nice.
Touch them all, Joe.
But I'll go with. I have a lot of signed memorabilia and sports memorabilia and comic and stuff like that, but I'll go with just 2. So the first one, I have an official Blues St. Louis Blues practice puck. Now, it
Nice.
may not seem like a big deal, but you can only get this if you practice with the team. And so when I was going down to St. Louis, my wife made asked for a called up the people in St. Louis and asked if they could give us a tour of the arena, because some places give them, and they said no, we don't. They said, but since you're driving 16 hours and your husband's been a fan for 40 plus years, we'll give him a tour. And she goes, is it possible to meet Bernie Federko? I have a jersey I get signatures on. And Bernie was my favorite player growing up. And they said, yeah, you can meet Bernie. So we got a private tour of the arena with Bernie Federko as the tour guide for about 2 hours. And then Bernie comes up to me. He's like, hey, did you bring your skates? You can go practice with the team. I'm like, no, I didn't know that was an option. And so we got to sit in and watch the practice, and Bernie's telling us. And then Barrett Jackman comes up and hands me this, the practice puck. And like an idiot, I took no pictures of the practice. And then the second one, one of my favorite players in the later years was a guy named Pavel Demitra. And he finished in the top 3 once in scoring in the NHL. He fed Brett Hull a lot. And when he left, he joined the KHL when they started up, and he was on the plane that crashed where it killed the entire team.
Mm.
And so, just after it happened, I went to a card show, and somebody was selling packs of cards for $1. I'm like, yeah, random hockey cards for $1 pack. I love opening wax packs. You never know what you're going to get. And if you're a card collector, it's fun. So I bought 1 pack, opened it up, and I bought a pack of Bowman. What did I get? I got a signed Pavel Demitra card.
Nice.
Out of that 1 pack I bought, like just a few days after he had died. I'm like, that just literally blew me away. And today he's put into the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame. So those are my 2 big memorabilia. And like I said, I have a bunch of stuff, even going, Chris Pronger's into the OHL stuff. But let's see Jeff's 45 items in club.
I didn't bring 45, but I wanted to bring a little variety because I do have a lot. I thought I'd start with something funny. You guys will appreciate this, I hope. It's a Scott Steiner Math poster
Nice.
signed by Scott. Rick was cracking up when I got that signed. If you've ever seen the Scott Steiner Math promo, it's one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
Along the lines of wrestling, I wanted to do some wrestling stuff. It's kind of unique. This is my Firefly Funhouse box. WWE
cool.
only sold 50 of those when they came out, and it came with a autographed postcard stating that I was an official Firefly Funhouse member, signed by Bray Wyatt.
It's cool.
So that's kind of cool, especially with his untimely passing recently. Hold on one second. Then for the other wrestling stuff, told you I'd make it quick here. So I got to pack things back. These were easily accessible for me. I have a lot of stuff. I wanted to show off some of my Warner Meek autographed photos. I've got a Brutus Beefcake.
Cool.
We've got Greg Valentine, of course.
Did you get them blown up on your own, or did they just come like that?
I made them 8x10 and had custom. So there's a Papa Shango. There's an Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
Nice.
Warner's done a lot of artwork for me over the years. I just wanted to show off a couple of those. There's a lot more of them in there. So then we'll go into the sports realm. First off, my son's freaking out. His video game's messed up.
Oh no, my computer died.
There.
Him?
No, one of the other kids hit AirPlay on their tablet.
It took it over.
So I have a lot of ticket stubs. Here's two of my favorites. This is the Tom Browning Perfect Game, the only perfect game in Reds history.
Nice.
Full stub signed by him. He recently passed, unfortunately. Really nice guy. And here's the Pete Rose 4192 game where he broke the hits record. Full stub.
Nice.
Like I said, cards are my primary focus, so I brought a couple I thought you guys might enjoy. The first one is a Cal Ripken Jr. Tony Gwynn dual signed card.
Cool.
And then for my hockey friend there, I have a Bobby Hall, Gordie Howe autograph card.
Did you just collect stuff of guys who have died?
No, I mean, I've been collecting my whole life, so a lot of these guys were alive when I met them and got autographs. Some of them I've bought afterwards. But my favorite thing to collect, and I only have a few of these. So in MLB, I don't know if you guys know about this, but when you play in Major League Baseball for at least 7 years, you get a lifetime membership pass. They give it to you, and you can get into any baseball game ever. They give it to all players that play at least 7 years. I have 4 of them in my collection. One of them, I don't know if you can see it, is George Foster from the Big Red Machine. So I've met George and taken pictures with it. Its authenticity and stuff. And his didn't have it anymore, but they come with this nifty little leather case that's like
That's really cool.
compliments of the American League or National League, and this is Bullet Bob Turley, who was the 1958 Cy Young Award winner back when they only had one for the whole league, and he was a World Series champ for the Yankees. But yeah, I collect those now, and I've got 4 of them now, so that's just some of my stuff. We could literally cover an item like every show, and it would never stop.
That's cool. I didn't even know those existed, so that's neat.
Yeah,
neither did I.
I saw a post by Jose Batista of all people when he got his, and I started delving into it. And I got on eBay right away, and I'm like, oh, are any of these available? And I saw a few deceased players. So I started collecting. I'd buy like one a year there for a little bit. And then George Foster, he's alive still, obviously. He said he never needs his. I met him. I had a dinner with him, asked him some questions and
Just
stuff.
try and use it.
And he was like, yeah, I don't need it because I only go to Reds games and they know who I am. So he's like, yeah, I can sell it. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of stuff. So I've been trying to trim down and only have a few focal points now. So I've really been starting to sell some stuff so I can get some kind of top-notch items.
Nice. That's cool stuff.
Yeah,
that's for Pete.
Yep. Good questions there, Pete. And the final question is from Rob Nadon, one of my better friends. I've been friends with Rob since I was about 12, and he has watched a few of these shows. Uh, he's an original GWF guy, and he wanted to know because we've been to a bunch of conventions. And I always tell him because the only time I really drink now is when I go to the States and hang out with you guys. You want to know what are the funniest drinking stories that we can tell on air?
I'm like, I mean, I have a relatively recent one. I don't know if
That
you.
was at a con.
Oh,
at
that
a
was at a
con?
con.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. But now you narrowed it down some. So
I can think of a couple. I can think of one time where Jeff and myself went out with Ashley.
oh yeah,
She-Devil.
She Devil.
And she wanted to. She said she could drink us under the table, and I'm like, probably
That's
not
not
going
gonna
to happen.
happen.
But we shut down two bars that night, and we went to one bar. And I remember I went like I got to use the bathroom before we go, and I come out, and all the lights are off, and everybody's outside, including the bartenders. And I'm in the bar, and I'm like, I have to knock on the door, and they're like, "What are you doing in there? We set the alarm." I went to the bathroom. Didn't anybody notice me? Like, how long was I in there for?
That's funny. I don't think I
And
have any good con ones.
Yeah, I
here's
mean, I
one. Here's
have a
one that
few.
you were with us, Brock. We had a couple. We had a couple beer, and we all went down to the snack machine to get ice and pop and just some snacks. And we told Sam to leave the door open, and we get down, and like, oh, we're like, oh, Sam, shut the door, and we're pounding on the door, like, Sam, open up, open up, and he won't open up, and we're just pounding more and more, and then we look, and it's the wrong door. We do a sprint down, and oh yeah, Sam left this door open.
Good stuff.
And there's, I think people on the cons probably think I'm an alcoholic because I go pretty hard at those. I don't drink hardly ever any other time. But
That's me too. Like,
the very first year I went to Galacticon, I think people were shocked because I got Pete Fusco to go with me, and we bounced from bar to bar to bar all over Jamestown. And I don't even remember what all bars we went to. I remember there was a girl at that one bar named Teal. Do you remember her, the bartender? At the very first bar, we had Cherry Street Lounge, and it was back when I think it was the Holiday Inn or something. It was the hotel bar,
Yeah.
and then we bounced from bar to bar there. And I don't even remember what all bars we went to, but I remember Pete being a trooper and bouncing from bar to bar with me. And I think
nice.
people thought I was crazy because it was my very first Galacticon, and they're like, "You're going where?" And I'm like, "Wherever."
No, I remember, of course, the dice bag incident.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, that was a
hilarious.
good one.
Pretty drunk for that. And then I also remember rooming, and it was me, my buddy Craig, I think Jeff, and we roomed with the Butchers. Matthew and or oh no, just my buddy Craig and myself, and I roomed with the Butchers.
Yeah, it wasn't me because I've never roomed with the Butchers.
And so me and Craig and the Butchers were, I brought down beer, and so we have probably about 10 beer, and we all go back up to the room, and it's like 2 a.m. We go to bed. I'm up at 7, shower, same as Craig. We're down, eat breakfast, come up. We get the Butchers up. We're like, "You guys getting up?" It's like 8:30. They're both like dead to the world. We leave, and Matthew's like, "How are you guys even up?" He goes, you drank more than us." And I remember Kevin going, "They're Canadian drinking American beer." And Kevin's like, "I've roomed with Mike before. He's going to do it again tonight." Like, yeah. But yeah, it's the only time I really drink now is when I go to Jamestown or Galacticon.
I
Right,
drink
right.
on vacations. It's just they're few and far between. So
Yeah. That's
Good times.
and the first time I went drinking down there, I was 19, and they still let me in the bar because they're like, "Well, you got to be 21," but they're like, "Drinking age is 19 in Canada. You can come on in and drink."
That won't happen anymore.
mm.
Well, no, because I'm 52 now, so I really
Wow.
don't.
So they'll serve him wherever he goes.
Yeah.
I remember I walked into the Cherry Lounge one time with Tim, and I was wearing a Blues jersey, and some guy comes up and he's in a Cardinals jersey. He come up and high fives me. He's like, "Yeah." And Tim's like, "You know that guy?" I'm like, "No, but he's wearing a St. Louis jersey, so it immediately makes us friends, I guess."
That's how it works.
Yep. Or the time where I was wearing my Ticats jersey, walking down
Oh gosh.
street in Jamestown, and all we hear is some guy goes, "Argos." There's another CFL fan in Jamestown.
Jamestown had it all.
It did. Can't wait to go back. And I think Brock had muted himself.
I think Brock did mute himself.
I thought I unmuted myself. I had that
Oh, there he
coughing
is.
fit. Jamestown's my favorite Galacticon city.
I'm so glad we're going back.
Me too.
Are we?
That's the word on the street.
But we should wrap up this episode 100 of
Yeah,
Ask Us Anything.
it's a good time. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. Thanks for watching. Sorry for that computer hiccup there in the middle. Hopefully that didn't cause too much work for me in the back end. But thanks for hanging out. While you're here, if you haven't clicked the subscribe button yet, please click that red subscribe button. I think it's right below Jeff. Also, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. While you're here, scroll on down to the description below where you can find all of our friends who make Filsinger Games related content, including the official Filsinger Games podcast roll up, the Legends team's Uncharted Territory, Dizzy Dice from Lee Longpre, Filsinger Games Fancast from Grant. Here on YouTube, you also find Grant's solo promoter, Dave Little's Heartland Championship Wrestling, Brad Plays 81, and After Further Review. I'm live on Twitch every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a bootleg fed that I run called Next Dimension Wrestling. You'll find all that information below. Yeah, and if you have any Filsinger Games related content you'd like us to share, please shoot us a message and we'd be happy to include it below. And you'll be there for the next 100 episodes.
We got lots of wrestlers to talk about.
Yeah, we've barely scratched the surface. So yeah, and they're still coming out. So by the time we get caught up.
And this is Bishop Hell version number 4. No.
Right? Here, we're going back to 2087 again. Come on, join us. Brock will restart his fed.
And if you do remember our very first episode, if you watch it back, it's tough to watch because
The jump cuts.
Yeah, it's jump cuts. Brock hadn't figured out how to make everybody on one screen. So Brock would talk and he'd be on the screen, and I'd talk, I'd be on the screen.
We should go back to that. We should do that for episode 101. I think I know how to set that setting again.
Just jump cut. All of a sudden, it's a giant head. Hey, that's cool.
But yeah, that's our most watched video still, I think.
Yep. A couple hundred views.
And they're like, not watching this ever again.
It takes that many times to get through it.
Yeah, right. I'll come back to this if I'm really interested. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.